Hello and welcome to the best mods for Xbox PC, where we will be looking at some of the best mods to check out each and every single day, or at least that's the aim. There'll be something here for everyone, definitely worth checking out. Use the chapters where you need them. If you do get anything out of this, consider liking, subscribing. It goes a really long way. Appreciate your time. Let's get into it.
Kicking us off, we have the first of its kind, a truly fascinating mod that is going to be very interesting to see how this develops over time. And for this mod, we are in Alpha Centauri, heading to the standby mercenary point. Upon arriving, we're going to be greeted by a fleet of merchants and mercenaries, basically doubling as both. Now, why this mod is so very interesting is we're accustomed to having followers and companions, but how about having a ship that follows us everywhere? Well, that's what this mod is aiming to do. So if we lock on to one of these ships and if we hail it, we're going to get some conversation and we can trade. So if we go, let's trade, we go into apparel and we buy this personal communicator, as well as just grabbing any other little goodies that we can. And you may need to go into your ship inventory, because for me, it went straight in there, probably because I have too much mass. But in any case, we will equip the personal communicator, sensible. And after equipping, if we go for a jump to another planet or system, you will note that we have another friend following us around. How crazy is this? So we've got a ship follower. I didn't even think of something like this, but this is awesome. What would be next level is to be able to have a fleet of ships just going following wherever you go. So let's just go for a bit of a ride and see if he's going to follow us. So I'll slow right down and see if our new follower will catch up with us, just to really test the following in action. You can see he's already getting closer. This is crazy. Yeah, here he comes. He's boosting. That is way too cool. So what's even better, this new ship companion is going to be able to follow you into combat. So let's just give that a quick test. We'll just jump into somewhere and we'll engage in some combat. And here he is. He's jumped with me. Now, if you have any issues and they're not following you, head back to the mercenary point, purchase the clothing again, equip it, and you can reset it that way. But let's just engage in some combat quickly. Okay, so teammates here is a little bit unsure, but at least we've gotten him to follow. It's still very early days. It's quite temperamental, but it's a crazy cool concept to have a ship follow you around. A few things to note: if your follower ship does get destroyed, apparently it will respawn and follow you again within a little bit of a period of time. So that's a kind of an interesting thing. Apparently, if it does get destroyed, it will respawn. If you switch ships, we'll need to go and speak to one of the ships again to reactivate this function. However, for an early sort of proof of concept, this is kind of unreal. I'd love to see in the future having a fleet follow us around, also land with us, have NPCs exit. I mean, it could be really next level on that aspect. Here is a quick test of the gladiator that got destroyed and is now activated. So he won't actually be destructible. He'll just go to 0 health or 1 health and shield and then regenerate after time. So that's freaking unreal. Really, really cool to see. So here's an example of it getting into combat. It will engage and fight by your side. So pretty unreal aspect there. What's even crazier is right now I have 2 companions that are following me around. This mod is kind of unreal, so you can almost have a fleet of companion ships. This is so mind-blowing. So there you go. We have this crazy new functionality, first of a kind mod, allowing us to have companion ships that will get into combat with us, that are indestructible and will come back to life if they get to 0 health. Where this goes is going to be truly awesome and fascinating to see how it develops. Incredible, cool mod. Let's keep moving. This next mod is called a gifted researcher. For me, I find this particularly helpful. What it's going to do, it's going to change all the resource material required for all the various projects to just one, meaning you can just fly through getting a lot of this stuff done and research very quickly. This is done by Naruk, a good utility mod, just making a very quick and easy accessible research completion to really boost your progression to get you to somewhere where you want to be instantly, basically. Cool mod. Let's keep moving. We have a new vehicle option, the T-47 Airspeeder by Electionize, a very nicely detailed atmospherical sort of vehicle spaceship. And cool thing is you can actually change the color with this mod, giving you all 3 color sections. So that is kind of crazy cool to see that kind of functionality added. And the good thing is when you make a mess of it like this, you can just go back to default. Okay, you take that back. You cannot go back to default. Okay, well, I'm stuck with this color, but there you go. You can change the colors. But this thing feels and looks just as cool as you'd expect. Oh man. And it's got some really nice, cool, sharp turns. and it actually feels quite unique in terms of how it sort of flies and shifts around. It's got a very strong boost, much quicker and faster than a lot of boosts we've seen. Whoa, and it's super, very light and agile. This thing is a bit of a beast. Very cool kind of way that it's been configured. It does feel kind of unique. It is worth noting it is a little bit wider than other vehicles, so you will have a little bit more tricky navigating certain areas, but again, with the excess boost that you get, which feels like close to unlimited, you will certainly find and feel that this is a perfect choice, especially if you didn't want to fork out for the orbital vehicle. This will definitely do everything you could ever dream of, and it's all free. The other cool thing about this vehicle is that it fires a lot faster in terms of its rate of fire. It is very, very fast. So lots of fun to be had there with this one. Good weapon, good speed, very solid vehicle mod. Let's keep moving. So this next mod we've covered, but this is a patch or an extension to this mod that specifically covers stuff from Shattered Space. For this, we'll need to go to our workbench and go into and craft the Summoner Selector. Then we'll get the Summoner Selector DLC and we're going to put it to our quick slot. The neat thing is, this is something I was hoping for that will be coming to the Pokemon mod, but here we can summon the various NPCs from Shattered Space. Now do keep in mind, in order to be able to summon all these various creatures, we will have to go find the 4 books, which we've covered before. I'll put a link in top right, which will include all the instructions and where to find the books. Once you've gotten 4 books, you'll be able to summon redeemed these crazy guys here. You'll be able to summon the Vortex Horrorlings and a few of these other crazy creatures from Shattered Space. And this is the Summoning Star Power DLC by QOO Estelle. Nice to see the added functionality of being able to summon some of the Vortex creatures. Let's keep moving. Here we got a crazy good new apartment called the Well Apartment Furnished is Improved. This is by Phoenix 08. And this really does transform the Well apartment and improves it beyond imagining. So heading up to the Well apartment, we have a very refined and amazingly detailed new apartment. This has so many little bits and pieces and details. It is really nicely done, and it's a good addition to really change up how you experience your Well apartment. And just getting an outside look, you get all this little sort of more hidden and secluded area now with a bunch of extra detailings, vegetation, and overall it's just a really nice touch. We've also got the upper level too, which has these really cool sort of built-in ornaments of various different spacesuits and an assortment of some really nice little statues that we've seen in many of the other builds, but it's nice to see that in this one. Then moving into the sort of office/bedroom, you have plenty of storage as well, little bits and pieces here, a locked vault, the bed, and just a very nice sort of feel, and I think it goes very well with the sort of Well look and aesthetics. Toilet is also quite nicely decorated, but the lighting is a little bit off for me, but might be fine for you, but just something to note. So a cool little take on the Wells apartment from this creator, and being the first mod, it's done very, very well. Nice little Well apartment. Let's keep moving. For this next mod, we're heading to Aquila City to the Alien Extravaganza, which is where they have some of the cool looking creatures from various locations all stuck in this nice little museum. But this time we're going to find the Rancor here from Star Wars. This adds a brand new companion or a friend that can follow you around, and this guy is awesome. A few things to note with this sort of companion is that he is using a model that has a long tail. So even though his tail looks short here, it probably expands out to about there. So it can be a little bit tricky sometimes and you can get stuck behind him, but you will be able to talk and you will be able to get this guy to follow you around just by talking to the Rancor and getting it to follow you. As a companion, you will be able to get it to hold some of your items and wait, and also go back to Aquila where you can pick him up again. So a lot of the functionality of a normal companion is there. The movement and animations are done quite well, and overall the texture quality is top notch. It's just a freaky looking Rancor for you to have as a companion in Starfield. Really nice touch, and this one is done by Radical Clown, the legend who has brought us so many amazing Star Wars mods. Excellent to see this guy in Starfield. Let's keep moving. For this next mod, we're heading to the Neon City on the lower level, right next to the seafood shop. Just in the corner here, we're going to find a little chest where we're going to find a new weapon and some ammo. Crazy good looking cyberpunk weapon. I believe this is the first one we've seen that's come to Xbox at least. This is the Malorian Arms 3516. This is done by Don Petrol 1, and here we have a very nicely well-detailed rendition of the Malorian, and it looks quite nice. The textures are definitely not too shabby at all. Not as well detailed as some, but you're not going to really notice it. So when it comes to upgrades, there are no real upgrades other than being able to add a glow sight. For a pistol, it's a little underwhelming. I would suggest using one of the other mods to make it legendary, or to just make it a lot stronger, because it's quite weak to be honest, but it does look very cool, and it's awesome to see our first cyberpunk weapon mod, but certainly underwhelming on the damage side. However, the weapon is very nicely aligned and has done a really nice job importing this into Starfield. Overall, not too bad. It's just great to see some cyberpunk weapons in Starfield. Let's keep moving. We have a nice little mod from the legend Downfall Nemesis. This time he's added the key Captain captain's quarters furnished. This is a nice little small redecoration and added a lot of functionality to the captain's quarters within the key. And of things of note is that we have 3 different Crimson Fleet mannequins with spacesuits on them. Now you'll be able to change these to male and female. You've also got plenty of storage with a total capacity of 3,500. Not only that, you get the weapons workbench really nicely integrated into the corner here. It's also worth noting that all storage objects and save are linked to your custom workbench, so it allows their contents to be crafted nice and easy. All decorations are static, but a simple, nice little change, but it is glorious just to see this a little bit amount of detail stuck in this room. Certainly refreshes the captain's quarters on the key. Nice little mod. Let's keep moving. So let's look at a paid mod that I've had my eye on for a while. This one's called Modular Arsenal. This is brought to us by the Quarter Onion Games, so a collective of modders that have come together to make some pretty amazing Starfield mods. This one only costs 200 credits and it adds quite a lot of functionality. Now it's important to note before we get started that this is an early access review of the latest version that will be coming within the next 2 to 4 weeks. So this version is unreleased, so everything is subject to change. Take this all with a grain of salt. However, for the most part, I would expect a lot of their features and current state to not change too much, but it's just important to know that this is a review of an early access version. So what does the Modular Arsenal mod do? It introduces a vast array of dynamic features and customization options for your weapons. So for instance, ducking into this weapon, then going into the magazine and battery components, you're going to see a huge amount of new cartridges. And when I mean a ton, I mean there is so many new variations that are added to all the various Starfield weapons. Do note though, modded weapons, I don't think you can use this without any patches or anything. Like, it's purely just the in-game Starfield weapons. So for a quick demonstration, within the cartridges, we can add various different types of magazine effects. Let's go with the Arctic cartridge. But it's important to note, if we want to unlock these bad boys, we're gonna have to work for it. In your research laboratory, you'll notice now that we have the Modular Arsenal bladesmithing. We're going to need to complete this to be able to get access to a lot of these various upgrades. We'll also need MA basic explosives, MA basic hand loading. There'll also be the advanced hand loading. Do keep in mind, I have a mod that changes all these values to 1, so it's much easier to upgrade, which we did cover in this mod video. So getting everything upgraded, you're looking at 7 new research items. Now that we've completed the research, we can equip the Arctic cartridge. Now with the Arctic cartridge attached, when we fire at enemies, they're going to get this cool freezing effect doing ice damage. The best thing about it is the flexibility of this mod. You can add all these different sort of effects to all your weapons, which will stack on top of your perks as well. Let's modify this legendary maelstrom. This time we're going to equip the atomic rounds. And the cool thing with this is that we get like a nice little radiation effect as well as some of the effects from the actual legendary perks. So you end up with quite an interesting result. And the combinations and variations of all these different effects that get layered with the mods from the Modular Arsenal as well as the legendary weapons do really yield some interesting results. So you'll end up with quite a huge variety and difference, at least in terms of how all the visuals of the gameplay elements pan out, will be nicely upgraded with this mod. Now with all the different weapons, there's going to be some slight variations on what you can actually upgrade. So for instance, here we have the Brigader, which has very different upgrades to say other ballistic weapons. Here we can get the anti-grav missile and a ton of various other different types of missiles. And there's so many cool ones to try out. We're not going to be able to look at them all, but we'll just check out a couple. So here we go. We have the anti-grav ammo selected, and this adds a crazy cool anti-gravity round. So this is pretty unreal and it is devastatingly cool. So things like this with this mod do really make it shine out as a bit more of a unique. And for 200 credits, it's definitely seeming more and more worthwhile the more I look into it. But just to give you an idea of how cool this anti-gravity thing is, when we have it selected, we can really bounce around some crazy scenarios and just pull everything together like your Starborn power. But having it in a weapon is pretty freaking unreal. And if you were wondering what the storm rounds were, well, we can get a coachman and then we can fire up to 4 or 5 rounds. And this particular setup is electrifying. So just showing you what it looks like on a bunch of guys. So if we fire it, it does quite a big area of effect and it's going to shock all the enemies. So pretty damn cool, and it really just reduces the amount that you need to aim. But there is so many new changes coming up with this mod. Now, a lot of what I've shown you probably isn't in the release that you have. So just bear in mind, you'll need to update or buy it within the next couple 2 to 4 weeks sort of thing. And we're going to have tons and tons of more new functionality. Some of this will be little preview. And there's just so much to this mod and so many various upgrades and cool effects perks. So for 200 credits, I think this is a bit of a no-brainer for really spicing up your gameplay. The good thing about this mod is that it integrates well with Starfield, but it also makes you work for these new powerful upgrades. So it doesn't make you just crazy OP at the start. You will have to work for it. One thing to mention as well is to get a lot of these upgrades, you're going to need a new resource called Imbued Gems. You'll be able to buy these from Trade Authority vendors, as well as get them through killing bosses throughout Starfield. So of note, if you do want to purchase them, you have to go to Zoe in New Atlantis, The Well. There might be others as well. But with so much variation, I've basically been able to add all the different perks, unique animations, and then layer them on top of all the legendary perks as well at the same time. Does really make for an interesting mix of gameplay mechanics. Definitely worth considering. For 200 credits, you won't be disappointed. Fantastic mod. Let's keep moving.